yet another great sports film from a nation that has a heritage of great sports films.
Indeed. So Iran is quite a leading country in the creative industry, and they've been giving a lot of emphasis on sports, documentaries and movies.
They take sports very seriously.
They sure do.
And film as well.
Yes.
Which actually leads us into the next topic, which of course is going to be sports films, biopic, global, and non-fiction, including animation. And I am joined here with the panelists. Of course, I have the chairman here of the Safinaz Foundation, who is also the founder and festival director of the Kenya International Sports Film Festival. He is also an international sportsman. He's very well known in the worlds of cricket and also tennis. And he's executive producer of the documentary, The KARIM's A Sporting Dynasty, and he's a board member of the Kenya Film Commission. The KARIM's A Sporting Dynasty is actually what more or less led to the idea and the notion of the Kenya International Sports Film Festival. Then we're also joined by RAJNI BASUMATARY from India, and she's a scriptwriter, director, actor, and producer. And she strongly believes that culture and creativity can engender social change in communities. And she wrote and produced her film Anurang in 2004, which went on to receive several Assam State Film Awards. And she debuted as a director in 2014 with Rag, The Rhythm of Love. We're also joined by Mr. ZAKARIYA MOHAMMED, also from India. He's an Indian film director, screenwriter, actor, and producer who works in Malayalam films. He is best known for his directorial debut, Sudani from Nigeria. Actually, I was actually one of the films that was actually here in the festival, and won several awards and accolades. His second directorial debut was Halal Love Story, and he's a postgraduate in mass communication and journalism from Safi Institute of Advanced Study in Basel. And I will be your moderator for this panel. Ever since I was a child, I've always had a love for things, film, movies, that kind of thing. And now we're going to go into sports films, biopics. Now, what do you mean exactly by biopics? I think the best person to answer this question would possibly be somebody who's actually lived and walks the walk and talks the talk. So, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I think this is, biopic has now become a very big thing. It started in Hollywood. It's become quite big in Bollywood right now, where they're trying to create movies to inspire the society. You know, I mean, if you look at some of the movies that have been done and recreated from the story, it's quite inspirational to talk about a journey of a sports person from the humble beginnings to where they have reached. And our panelist colleague RAJNI was involved in one of the biopics in Mary Com, where she played the role of the mother of Mary Com. And there are many other inspiring movies, biopics in Bollywood. So I think that's a very good phenomena. It needs to be encouraged more. It's something that the youths can get inspired, and something that you're also, I believe, you're even honoring the sports person by doing a movie on them.
In fact, one of the movies actually had the line, you know the man, now you know the journey.
Yes.
Why is it important for us to know, you know, the real, because we know the myth and the legend. Why is it important for us to actually know the person behind the myth and the legend? RAJNI, any thoughts on that?
Can't hear.
Is she on mute?
Sorry.
Yes.
Could you please repeat your the last bit?
Yes. Why is it important for us to know the real story behind, you know, our heroes and our legends in the sports world? Because we know them for their accomplishments, we know them for their feats, and like one of the movies said, you know the man, now you know the journey.
I mean, because of the film, you know the journey of the hero, the sports person. Is that your question?
Journey. Like for instance, you had the movie, I think it's MS Dhoni, and it said, you know the man, now you should know the journey. Why is it important for us to know the journey of the hero in a biopic?
Got it. Yeah. Yes, it does help the already hero in a great deal to let people know how his journey been. And in many cases, in fact, it reintroduces, the film reintroduces the hero, um, because a lot of people know them how they perform in the field, but audience often don't know their family life, their struggle, how they have reached uh, this stage. So the film definitely helps um, the audience to understand their journey. You're right. And like everyone knows, we know that sports is is as old as human civilization, and cinema is a strong one of the strongest tools to um, for communication, to tell stories. And when this sports and films come together, I think it does wonder. It does wonder to the hero, the sports person, as well as the filmmaker, because he gets or she gets to tell the story uh, of an incredible journey that a sports person might have taken.
To
Thank you.
always, if you're doing a biopic, is it important to stick to the story, or is having a creative license something that one should encourage in terms of a biopic?
I think a filmmaker should have creative license to dramatize, to tell the story in his own style or in her own style. However, I think it shouldn't, in the same time, it shouldn't distort the facts, distort the life that the sports person has lived, or distort her or his struggle and journey. It should be shown. It can be dramatized a bit, but shouldn't distort, that could harm the image of the sports person, because his life, he's entitled to his life, his struggle, and his journey totally. And no one, including a film maker, had the right to destroy that image. That's my belief.
Zakaria, do you believe that creative license would enhance the story of the person, or would it diminish the story of the person? Answer the question?
I think, Zakaria, you need to unmute yourself.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, really sorry. Hi.
Hello.
I think the creative license for the filmmaker will enhance the story, because that freedom we have to take as a filmmaker. In my personal opinion, the filmmaker should get that freedom to express. So um, it's it depends about defame and faming or enhancing that hero. I think in sports films, the filmmaker should have enhanced the hero's journey, uh, while sometimes the filmmaker need to dramatize things up. We need up and downs for the hero's journey. So to making these up and downs, we have to take that freedom from the person, from the family. So it depends upon the storytelling.
And what about the use of animation? Would this enhance the biopic?
Yes, I think it depends how he's approaching the story, and how the filmmaker approaching the story narrative style. So it will be enhancing.
Mr. Chairman, would, like for instance, there have been biopics on people like Muhammad Ali, there have been biopics on people like Jake LaMotta, I think that was Raging Bull, was Robert De Niro, and of course there have been even biopics on some of the cricket personalities in India. Would, say for instance, would you consider a biopic on your life being done in animation?
Well, the first thing is that the biopic is mostly looking at behind the scenes that happen. Because the public already knows the individual's performance on the field. But what it takes behind the scene is very relevant to a biopic movie, in my view. And now animation has come in a very big way. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry also now, animation. So animation is here to remain, is here to grow. So I think it would be a good thing. I haven't seen any biopics done through animation as yet, but I think it would be very interesting and I would welcome it.
Because it would cut across the audiences.
It would totally it would, and it would be something new. We have renowned filmmakers with us on the panel. Maybe they should consider doing one animation biopic.
Rajni, would you consider doing an animation biopic?
Well, I don't have it on my card as of now, but in future, who knows? Because animation, like AASIF ji has mentioned, it's totally a different ball game altogether, and it can be more expensive than live shooting of a film. But yes, it's definitely very interesting art, and it is very new to sports films, especially biopic. I'm trying to think of a biopic that's made through animation. I can think of one.
Because that's possibly because there's none that comes to mind. Even if you look at the big studios, Disney, Pixar, and all that. I'm not seeing.
I was just interested when Rajni said that the animation biopic could be more expensive than the normal biopic. That's very interesting, because I would have thought that would be cheaper because it's more graphics and it's more computerized. So that was a very interesting statement, and that it would be more expensive to do a production on that.
Yes. Well, if you watch any animation, feature, you see, if you look at the credits, there's a lot of people involved in it. I think even ZAKARIYA is familiar with that kind of world. Is that the case, ZAKARIYA?
In animation? I would like to add one thing relating to the animation film related to the sports. I'm remember this moment. I'm remembering in my childhood. I have seen one. It's not a biopic, but it's a football movie, animation movie. It's a Japanese production, and I have seen it in an Arabic version called Captain Majid. Anyway, Captain Majid. It's a kids animation movie of a footballer, but it's not a biopic. But that character is interesting character. It's in 90s. It's a huge hit in Arab world, I think, in Saudi. Captain Majid is a Saudi footballer name, but the original production is from Japan. And Saudi translated into their captain names, like Captain Majid. They put the hero's name like as Captain Majid, and it was a huge hit in television area in Arab world, I think. And just remembering the things.
And you did Sudani from Nigeria, which was basically a biopic as well.
No, it's not a biopic. It's like a chain of actual stories. It's about two people's story about a football manager and a footballer from the African region who came to Kerala, northern part of Kerala, to join in a football club. It's not an 11th professional football. It's like in sevens football. Like only 7 people are playing in one team. It's locally built stadiums built with bamboos, something like that. It's like a carnival season, sevens football season. So many African footballers are coming to northern part of Kerala to join the football team. Each football team have three foreign players. Most of the foreign players are from African region, from like Nigeria, Sudan, Ivory Coast, like that. The thing is, the first first football player from African region, we all know his name. His name is Abdul Ghani from Sudan. So that was in its late 80s and early 90s. He played in a local football club. So that was a exciting moment for our local people. So an African player is playing in a local football player. He's studying in university near in Thrissur, like in Kerala, inside the Kerala. He was studied here. So through him, so many foreign players are coming to the Kerala to join in the football team. Most of the foreign players are from African region, like Nigeria, Sudan, like that. So I told the stories of all together. I put into the one character, and I said that story of a football player and a local football club team manager story. It's kind of biopic, but it's not a specific person. It's about like a cultural exchange, like an representation of two types of people.
Now, I have a question. When you pick a subject for a biopic, for instance, a sportsman or a sportswoman, and you want to shoot the biopic, would you ever consider going to, in terms of casting, would you find a sportsman or a sportswoman who resembles that sportsman or sportswoman and then teach them to act, or would you find an actor and then teach them that sport for the biopic?
I think it's a valid question for Indian filmmakers, because Indian film is surrounded with stars, superstars, like for the biopic model films, we need a super cast to maintain the budget of the film. So as a filmmaker, I prefer a sports person resembling that that hero to play the role, to train him to act. But most of the time it will not happen in here because of the budget constraints. So we have to cast a superstar from the film industry. Then we have to teach the sport to him. That's the challenge, big challenge.
Rajni, are you of the same sentiment?
Yeah, the first one is, of course, the ideal situation. We should, as filmmakers, should be able to pick up people from the field and then train them to act. And because they already know the game, and that is what one is going to make the film about. It is not very difficult to achieve. However, like ZAKARIYA said, that it is filmmaking is driven by commercial considerations. So it is very difficult to convince the funders, the investors, the producers to ride on a smaller horse, if I may say. so they always would ask the directors, the makers, to pick up who are commercially viable. And the compromise starts there. The star may not look like the sports person one is going to make the film on. He or she can be from different race, different countries and different culture, and doesn't know anything about the game, and then so it's a difficult, and then it's kind of compromise culturally and a lot of time ethically. So but then, like I said, filmmaking is very much driven by commercial considerations. So one has to compromise to be able to tell the story.
So, like for example, when you did your role in Maricom, did you? How was your experience? Because you were playing somebody who was actually a real life person. Did you actually get to meet with and interact with the person, or how did you do your research? How did you get to embody the character?
Well, I didn't meet Maricom's mother. I played the mother, and I didn't meet the mother before the shoot. I met the lady later on, and during one of the promotional events. But I had read up about her, and I had read, and I talked to people who had met her, and I read, and I printed some of her pictures, and then I pasted in my room to be able to prepare, to make myself feel good that that I'm preparing for this role, even if the role was not as big as the film was being made on. But then it was an important role because the mother played a big role in Maricom's life. And I must say, I'm from the same region, therefore it was not that difficult for me to, and I knew their lifestyle. I know the vegetations, the surroundings, the village, the rural life of Manipur, because I come from Assam, and that's very close to Manipur. Therefore, it wasn't difficult in terms of look, as well as in terms of mannerism. I think it was pretty easy for me. But yes, there was a lot of dialogue happening regarding the main cast and how could she be roped in to play this. And of course, money wins. And the story was told the way it was told. And now that the film has been made, we can only be positive about it and say that, well, because of the star, the story was sent off to the world in a grand way, which may have not been possible if the filmmaker picked up someone who was not known. Because the story is so inspirational, it's so inspiring, because the story went through star power. The story about Maricom reached a lot of people, and that would have inspired many youngsters across the globe, especially women.
Sports films are usually very, very inspirational, and we've seen that throughout the festival. Now, you being a sportsman yourself, if there was going to be a biopic done on your life, what would the elements, what elements would you like to be brought to the fore?
Well, I think that's, as the filmmaker said, that for any biopic or any movie to do well, it must be having its ups and downs for it to be, and of course a little drama to make it Bollywood spicy, I think. But this would be an Indian-Kenyan production. That, of course, the discussions are already ongoing, and I'm hoping with time that we will get there. But I think should be an inspirational story, because you have a family that has moved from the subcontinent 100 years ago, going to another colonial continent, going to look for greener pastures, and then you got here my grandfather encouraging the young boys, his children, to play sports, and then one of the child takes it to a newer level, beats the colonial masters, over the last 20-25 years. Then his children take over,
Yes.
and then following his children take over. So I think it would be a good global story, that if here is one family that could do, anybody can do.
Yeah.
And I think that is a message, that anything and everything is possible by anyone.
Now, ZAKARIYA, as a filmmaker, I know there has to be the commercial consideration, but there's also the artistic consideration, because I remember watching Raging Bull, which actually won an Academy Award with Robert De Niro, and they made the choice to actually film it in black and white. So yes, it was
So it's
artistic.
like the old time.
Exactly. It was because it was based on Jake LaMotta, so they made that choice, and De Niro had to bulk up and all that kind of thing. So when you're doing a biopic, is your first consideration the commercial returns, or is it how well you tell the story?
Definitely, my first consideration about the narrative style and keeping the genuinity of the story atmosphere, and the genuinity of the resembling of the hero's part. So, as a filmmaker, this is my vision about biopic, because the audience have to get the real experience without biasing, because when we put a superstar for the particular role as a hero for a biopic or sportsman's biopic, some the audience may be biased about his stardom, something like that. So, as a filmmaker, I want to get the genuine feel. I want to give the genuine feel to my audience, without any bias, without any consideration. They have to enjoy the film. So, as a filmmaker, avoiding the commercial aspects, I would like to do in this way. But unfortunately or fortunately, we have to consider that part also.
Rajni, you're also a filmmaker, so what is your take on this?
Is the question for me?
Yes, because you're a filmmaker. Do you consider the story first or the commercial aspect of the project that you're going to do, like a biopic?
Yeah, I as a filmmaker will always go for authenticity and genuineness of the story, and a director, a filmmaker will always want to stay close to the reality that you are making the film on. Yeah, like any other director, I would like to cast a person who is close to the person who I am making the biopic on. Like AASIF ji's story, it's such an incredible story. The more I hear about AASIF ji and his family, how they have gone and really almost won a part of the sports world. It's amazing. It will be such an incredible cinema if a biopic is made on them, not just AASIF ji, but his grandfather, father, and now I read his son is playing. It's such an inspiring story, and I can't wait to see a filmmaker from wherever they are, whichever region, to make a film on this incredible family in Kenya.
Ah, thank you. Well, I think the last word is now with you. It's your subject.
Well, I am extremely humbled to hear what I just heard from Rajni, being such a senior person in the Bollywood industry, for having been a very successful artist, producer, having done well, to have been so kind with her words. And of course, we would be very willing and hope that we can engage a conversation through her, through ZAKARIYA and any other filmmakers to see how we can take this project forward. And I also want to say that I think it's also important for the Kenyans, filmmakers, because Kenyans, we have a rich history of sports. As
Yes.
I kept on saying this, and this has been the concept of KISS, that we need to do biopics of our local stars,
Yes.
you know, so that there are so many of them, and that they can be a huge inspiration for the generation to come.
Well, I think that sums it all up. We also found out that animation is expensive, so maybe to do a biopic, actually, the preferred way to go is actually with actual real life. Yes. And so, any last words from Rajni on this issue?
Yeah, I only can say thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to both of you. Both of you are legend over there, and it's my privilege to be part of this this panel discussion. And nice to see ZAKARIYA
Yeah, thank
on
you.
this platform.
Yeah.
And look forward to meet ZAKARIYA too at some point in some film festivals in coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed.
You're most welcome. ZAKARIYA, any last words?
Yeah, same. I'm honored here. A big thank you for this opportunity, and I'm meeting you people, and I'm very glad to meeting you. And thank you very much. We'll meet again.
Thank you. And on behalf of the Kenya International Sportsman Festival, we are very, very grateful, and we really appreciate having the opportunity to interact with you on this panel on sports films, Biopic Global, and non-fiction, including animation. Mr. Chairman, any last words?
No, just wonderful. I want to thank my fellow panelists for their wonderful contribution, and more importantly, to give acknowledgement to this festival by being part of this very important discussion. And I'm sure we can further engage with them for our young Kenyans to creative industry,
Yes.
to see how we can engage them to share ideas and to grow and make biopic a huge thing in the Kenyan sports fraternity and the creative industry. So thank you to my panelists.
Exactly. Thank you very much. That has been the Sports Films, Biopic Global, and non-fiction, including animation. I have been your moderator, Kamau, and now it's back to the films.